In a public relations quagmire enveloping the Duchess of Sussex swifter than a royal Eton tart catastrophically deflating under amateur baking blasphemies, iconic domestic goddess Martha Stewart erupted this week in rare scathing outrage defaming Meghan Markle as an irritating, insulting individual whose arrogant hypocrisy simply knows no bounds. The fiery denunciation detonated across social media and elite circles in response to yet another seemingly contrived outrage cycle pitting the polarizing Duchess against Western civilization's most irreproachable lifestyle matrons. What ostensibly began as a benign branding play to promote Markle's forthcoming, Archewell, lifestyle vertical encompassing wellness products, holistic homecrafts, and wokstrepreneur events swiftly devolved into outright intergenerational combat after the American mogul detected unmistakable dog whistles impugning her hard-won self-made empire during Meghan's promotional junkets. There's a huge difference between celebrating your own personal journey and cynically co-opting the legacies of pioneers who spent entire lifetimes building legitimacy from the ground up, Stewart fumed during an appearance on Watch What Happens Live. While I've always encouraged women outgrowing the antiquated hyperfeminine mystiques limiting their ambitions, this former actress turned royal apocalypse personifies everything corrosive about marginal talents freeloading upon others' accomplishments while contributing literally nothing redeeming back to civilization themselves. For those blissfully unfamiliar with the sordid chronicle of tensions long simmering between these two alpha femmes symbiotically intertwined within America's prestige lifestyle programming spheres, the current fracas traces back several years to dueling debut marketing campaigns surrounding Markle's children's book The Bench and Stewart's own botanical primer. As the Duchess smugly toured networks in 2021 flogging her underwhelming literary debut about mediating the challenges of parental travel absences through whimsical fantasias, more than a few public relations veterans raised eyebrows detecting the former Deal or No Deal talent not so subtly telegraphing passive-aggressive salvos against Stewart's Flowers' reimagined release coinciding almost simultaneously. Whenever Meghan faced softball questions about memoir inspirations, she conspicuously pivoted toward weaving thinly veiled rebukes about established authors capitalizing upon exhaustive botanical libraries to inflate themselves as transcendent authorities on all things flowery, while truly authentic creatives humbly elevate the medium's most meaningful aspects, noted one correspondent routinely embedded within her former press entourages prior to the Duchess dismissing her entire communications apparatus in favor of Instagram influencers. Anyone with a lick of familiarity between those two pioneers knew it represented the opening salvo in some protracted civilian feud for dominance of an extremely rarefied domestic space. Indeed, several noteworthy instances in that whirlwind media cycle contained clues about Meghan's attempts to antagonize the lifestyle juggernaut she ostensibly aimed to usurp as modern incarnation. During a particularly passive-aggressive interview with NPR, Markle repeatedly condemned a certain strain of supposed grand dames desperately overcompensating for obscene privilege by inflicting derivative books repackaging garden porn for repressed Hamptons housewives every spring. Another incident found her disparaging unnamed, irrelevant elder stateswomen compulsively rehashing hackneyed watercolor filter nonsense to cope with society outgrowing their domestic prisons. While the Duchess exercised noticeable restraint from directly mentioning Martha Stewart's name, clear patterns emerged where the Suits alumna clearly intimated designs upon toppling icons associated with that overwhelmingly white, upper-crusty realm epitomized by Stewart's empire. She couldn't help telegraphing every shallow motivation towards cynically usurping an entire lifestyle industry from its most venerated elders who actually built those foundations with the most blood, sweat, and soil under their own shovels over whole lifetimes of toil, sniped Stewart bluntly assessing Meghan's disruptive endgame. Forget championing meaningful change through grassroots advocacy or even uplifting those longtime soldiers who fought opening opportunities for everyone to elevate homemaking into a respectable profession beyond gender constraints. Her whole attempted overthrow reeked like some pathetic celebrity dilettante indulging delusional grievance theater over the fact our civilization's most resilient icons still refuse paying any dues to affirmative action affectations. For the longest time, those closest to Stewart admired her admirably gracious refusal to engage or retaliate against Markle's incessant barbs attempting to usurp the grande dame's oeuvre through breathtakingly insolent transgressions against settled codes of decorum underlying legitimate succession in the lifestyle world. Even as the younger upstart sniping turned brazenly insulting, Martha remained sanguine in hopes the Duchess's lack of substantive achievements might be rectified through hard work and dedication. However, Multiple sources confirm the latest flare-up stemmed from Meghan defiantly crossing a line no enlightened woman of taste deigns broach, that of weaponizing Harry's children as media prop fodder for scoring cheap personal branding points. When the teaser clips dropped featuring Meghan dragging her toddlers through that entire cynical origin story about how the royal gardener's special extra fertilizer inspired the bench during their playdate and picnic outings, that's when Martha completely snapped over the dismal spectacle, bemoaned one socialite torn between fierce allegiances to both women. She watched that disgraceful performance pimping those poor kids out for clout, and simply exploded over what an irritating, insolent, irredeemable individual that Duchess truly remains no matter how desperately she virtue signals otherwise while cravenly chasing the spotlight. She just refuses learning there's a respectful art to curating a lifestyle empire beyond constantly humble bragging about your children while stripping away any shreds of dignity to score quick likes off family exploitation confessionals. As if Meghan's own mother didn't suffer enough embarrassment over undignified confessionals about rashes from her menstrual products, now her own grandchildren get paraded around like circus carnies hyping Mommy Markle's quest for even more shamelessly attention. No refined homemaker worthy of the mantle would ever dream of commercializing the innocents in their care like that. While the incandescent domestic diva understandably raged about the latest perceived line crossed, what truly detonated her simmering antipathy toward Meghan stemmed from much deeper philosophical disagreements over the very notion of gatekeeping institutions stewarding American lifestyle virtues and values. According to Confidence, Stuart witnessed with acute discomfort the Duchess's tireless attempts to reduce that entire value system into reductive racial caustic binaries, framing her own mercurial hustle ethic as more authentic merely through affirmative action associations rather than actually personifying Martha's timeless values of grace, elegance, and indefatigable self-discipline. You're talking about someone sculpting a four-decade edifice symbolizing a societal American ethos of self-improvement, refinement, and positivity, all contrasted against this crass, churlish opportunist exclusively branding herself by knocking down elite norms instead of embodying some superior credo herself, sniffed a longtime Martha devotee privy to the televised lifestyle queen's private contempt for Meghan's chicanery. While Stuart imparts invaluable life lessons and empowerment through the personal journeys meticulously curating her exquisite taste and presentation, Markle's entire MO involves nothing besides arrogantly signaling outrage over exclusion from spaces she lacks the work ethic, patience, or grace to ever truly inhabit. To be sure, those concentric circles inhabiting America's lifestyle entertainment cosmos overwhelmingly side with Martha's assessment of the Duchess as nothing besides a vapid Hollywood charlatan exploiting racial grievance narratives as grifter cover for her essential lack of talent, discipline, or dignity. While progressives cravenly cloak Meghan's self-aggrandizing pursuits under the mantle of progressivism promoting diversity within the historically exclusive domestic realm, several insiders privately observe a conspicuous pattern where every one of her public antics somehow manages turning the spotlight back upon herself and her petty jealousies rather than meaningfully making that space more welcoming for others hungering to uplift themselves their own accords. Without question, Martha Stewart stands as the foremost authority on inspiring generations of aspirants to new fulfilled potentials by absorbing and expressing sublime standards of household artistry with patience, commitment, and exquisite restraint, an acclaimed food stylist confided regarding her over